Hello, welcome to Glory Betta's Catering and Events Management Services channel. Today we'll be learning how to make cake, how to ice the cake, and how to decorate it. So follow me as we proceed. As you can see, here are the list of ingredients I'll be taking the right portion from in order to make the cake. I will be making 3 pounds of cake. So if you'll be making 1/3 of this quantity of cake, you will need to divide every ingredient I'll be using, every quantity of ingredients I'll be using by 3. That's to say, use 1/3 of the quantity of ingredients I'll be making use of. Here is the flour. The all-purpose flour, I'll be making use of the all-purpose flour, and I'll be using 15 cups. This cup is equivalent to the measuring cup. So I'll be using 15 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'll be using 12 pieces of eggs from these eggs, you can see. I'll be using 3 sachets of vanilla powder. As you can see, here is it, the vanilla flavor. That's the vanilla powder, the powdered vanilla that gives you flavor as well in the cake. I'll also be making use of 2 sachets of milk flavor. It's optional, it depends, including the vanilla flavor too. That's the vanilla powder rather, is also optional if you choose to use it. But most often, people prefer to combine the milk flavor together with the milk, as it boosts the flavor of the cake. It boosts the flavor in your cake. So I'll be making use of 5 teaspoons of vanilla flavor. That's the liquid flavor. Rather, I'll be using 2 types of flavor. I'll be using the strawberry flavor, as you can see, the strawberry flavoring essence. I'll also be using the vanilla flavoring essence. I'll be making use of 5 teaspoons for that quantity of cake. I told you you will need to divide it by 3 to get the quantity for 1 part of cake if you are making 1/3 of this quantity of cake I'm making. I'll be using 2 sachets of, I'll be using 7.5 teaspoons of baking powder. 7.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And I'll be using 3 cups of whole milk. This is the whole milk here. I'll be making use of 3 cups of the whole milk. So how will I get my whole milk liquid? If you're going to be using the powdered milk, get it liquid by dissolving it in a lukewarm water. Not too watery, not too thick. In a lukewarm water, not hot water and not cold water, okay? That's how you get it liquid. But if you have the liquid milk, feel free to use the liquid milk. That's okay. I'll be using 4 teaspoons of nutmeg. Its equivalent is 2 sachets of this nutmeg you can see here with me. 2 sachets of this will give you 4 teaspoons equivalent. I'll also be adding the powdered preservative, okay? Then I'll be making use of 7.5 cups of sugar. As you can see, this is the sugar. This is the sugar, granulated sugar, 7.5 cups of this granulated sugar. I'll be making use of it. Remember, this is big quantity of cake I'm setting out to make. I'm set out to make quite big quantity of cake. That's why you have the ingredients multiplied by 3. Okay, that's it. And I will also be making use of, very important, butter. I'll be making use of the Siema's cooking margarine, as you can see here with me. I'll be making use of 750 grams. Each sachet of this Siema's cooking margarine gives you 250 grams, like you can see it's written here. So I'll be making use of 3 sachets, which is equivalent of 750 grams. Okay. So now moving ahead, this is how to prep it. Firstly, sieve all the dry ingredients and mix them together. That's the dry ingredients, including the flour, the vanilla powder, the milk flavor, the nutmeg, and the preservative. You can see all of them are in powder. That's their dry ingredients. So I'll be sieving them together before going over to the next step. So to do this, I'll be taking you off the camera so that I'll quickly do it and then come back. Also sieve in the baking powder into the flour. Sieve it together with the flour. It's also a dry ingredient. Don't forget. Remember though, to exclude your sugar from it. You won't be sieving in sugar at this moment. There will be a time when you'll be using the sugar. I'm having to let you know about this because sugar is also a dry ingredient. Now the flour has been sieved together with other dry ingredients, the milk flavor, the vanilla powder, and the nutmeg. Excluding sugar is also a dry ingredient, but it's not added now like I told you earlier. So it's been sieved together with the flour and thoroughly mixed. Now in a dry bowl, I'm going to be adding the melted butter followed by sugar. I'll be adding the melted butter. I'll remain a little for greasing the pan, which I'll be using for baking. So followed by adding the sugar into the bowl, 7.5 cups of sugar. After which I'll be whisking it together. The melted butter, you get this melt. Ordinarily it's solidified, but you can melt it under very low heat. So I'll be whisking the sugar with the melted butter until it's fluffy and drops when scooped. So I'll be whisking it together until it becomes fluffy. I'll take it off the camera and get this done as soon as possible, and I'll be back. Now you can see the results. The butter and the sugar mixture were mixed together. You using this egg whisker, or you use the turning stick, whichever one you choose. We want to show that we can achieve what the machine can do. So you whisk until it becomes fluffy this way. You noted how it was before I started whisking. So this is the result of the whisking. Then we move ahead by cracking in the number of eggs that will be used in baking this quantity of cake. I told you earlier that it's 12 eggs or 12 pieces of eggs I'll be using for it. So I'll be cracking it in. So once you crack in the number of eggs you'll be using, you add in the vanilla flavor, the liquid strawberry flavoring essence and the vanilla flavoring essence. Okay, you add in the quantity we are using, after which you begin to add in the flour in bits. Adding the flour in bits, and once the dough is getting thick, then you begin to introduce the whole milk. That's the liquid milk. You begin to introduce it in bits. Adding the flour, mix properly. Add the whole milk a bit. Add the flour again, mix properly. Add the whole milk, mix properly. Add in the flour, mix properly. Add the whole milk, mix properly until it gets finished, bit by bit, till you achieve the desired consistency. So we get to action. Mix thoroughly. Immediately after cracking in the eggs into the sugar and butter mixture, mix it thoroughly before adding in the vanilla flavor, the liquid vanilla flavor. So I've added the vanilla flavor. Once you add it, mix thoroughly before adding in the flour. As you can see, the batter is becoming thick, it's becoming strong. So I'll be introducing the milk intermittently in bits. I'll put in flour, put in milk. At this point, I'll add in some quantity of the whole milk. Then mix very well and add in another flour. Mix thoroughly, add in another milk, and just like that till I achieve the desired consistency. Now here are we have the desired consistency. This is the right consistency for your cake. Don't make it wetter than this, don't make it softer than this. This is it. So we are going to be transferring it over to a floored and greased pan. This pan is going to be floored, first of all greased with the remaining butter. I told you I was going to be leaving some butter, so I will use to grease the pan. So I'll be greasing it. I'll grease the pans and then I'll flour them and add in the batter before proceeding to bake it. This is how you can cut out the parchment paper which you'll be using to line the pan. Place it this way and then you get it cut out. To enable it lap in the pan, you cut open the edges. Cut open the edges of the pan. Okay, this way. The pointed edges of the pan. Cut it out open. The pan has been greased, so I'm to dust it with some flour. Dust with some flour this way. Once it has touched every part of this pan, you can now pour it out. Pour out the remnant flour to avoid being excess. Now the pans are ready and it's time to scoop it into the pan and bake. Now I've filled in the batter, so you can now bake in the pot, preheated pot, or over medium heat. Preheat the pot under medium heat for 10 minutes. You need to add in salt below the pot so as to absorb any moisture that will exist within the pot while it's baking. Okay, that's the essence of putting the salt under the pot. Then you bake for 40 or 50 minutes or even 1 hour. Just when the toothpick, when inserted at the middle of the cake, comes out neat. Once you insert the toothpick at the middle of the cake and it comes out neat, you know your cake is all done. That's there's no cake, no stain on the toothpick. Then you know that your cake is done. Then you get it down. 40 or 50 minutes or even 1 hour, or till when the cake, the toothpick inserted at the middle of the cake comes out neat. So that's the salt under the pot, which will be absorbing the moisture. Now put in the cake after preheating the pot for 10 minutes. At exactly 10 minutes later, I put in the cake to bake it over medium heat. It must be medium heat, otherwise the cake will not be done. Now, after some minutes, after 1 hour, I came and having to check if it's done is to put in the toothpick into the cake, and you can see it came out neatly. Nothing is on the body of the cake. It came out very, very neatly. That is to say the cake is done. So put it down, unhaul it from the pan and let it cool before icing. So now this is the result of the cake. Neatly baked, though I used pot, not oven. You can see there's no burns of any sort. This opening is majorly caused by the pan, so I will be able to fill it up before icing with the remnant cake I have. That's very beautiful and yummy. You can see, press it and it's all bouncing back. That's it.